Chapter 23. Living in Desert Hideouts. It was reported to David that the Philistines were raiding Keilah and looting the grain. David went in prayer to God. "Should I go after these Philistines and teach them a lesson?" God said, "Go, attack the Philistines and save Keilah." But David's men said, "We live in fear of our lives right here in Judah. How can you think of going to Keilah in the thick of the Philistines?" So David went back to God in prayer. God said, "Get going, head for Keilah. I'm placing the Philistines in your hands." David and his men went to Keilah and fought the Philistines. He scattered their cattle, beat them decisively, and saved the people of Keilah. After Abiathar took refuge with David, he joined David in the raid on Keilah, bringing the ephod with him. Saul learned that David had gone to Keilah and thought immediately, "Good, God has handed him to me on a platter. He's in a walled city with locked gates, trapped." Saul mustered his troops for battle and set out for Keilah to lay siege to David and his men. But David got wind of Saul's strategy to destroy him and said to Abiathar the priest, "Get the ephod." Then David prayed to God, "God of Israel, I've just heard that Saul plans to come to Keilah and destroy the city because of me. Will the city fathers of Keilah turn me over to him? Will Saul come down and do what I've heard? Oh God, God of Israel, tell me." God replied, "He's coming down." "And will the head men of Keilah turn me and my men over to Saul?" God said, "They'll turn you over." So David and his men got out of there. There were about 600 of them. They left Keilah and kept moving, going here, there, wherever, always on the move. When Saul was told that David had escaped from Keilah, he called off the raid. David continued to live in desert hideouts in the backcountry wilderness hills of Ziph. Saul was out looking for him day after day, but God never turned David over to him. David kept out of the way in the wilderness of Ziph, secluded at Horish, since it was plain that Saul was determined to hunt him down. Jonathan, Saul's son, visited David at Horish and encouraged him in God. He said, "Don't despair. My father, Saul, can't lay a hand on you. You will be Israel's king, and I'll be right at your side to help, and my father knows it." Then the two of them made a covenant before God. David stayed at Horish, and Jonathan went home. Some Ziphites went to Saul at Gibeah and said, "Did you know that David is hiding out near us in the caves and canyons of Horish? Right now, he's at Hakilah Hill, just south of Jeshimon. So whenever you're ready to come down, we'd count it an honor to hand him over to the king." Saul said, "God bless you for thinking about me. Now, go back and check everything out. Learn his routines, observe his movements, where he goes, who he's with. He's very shrewd, you know. Scout out all his hiding places. Then, meet me at Naked, and I'll go with you. If he's anywhere to be found in all the thousands of Judah, I'll track him down." So the Ziphites set out on their reconnaissance for Saul. Meanwhile, David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the desert south of Jeshimon. Saul and his men arrived and began their search. When David heard of it, he went south to Rock Mountain, camping out in the wilderness of Maon. Saul heard where he was and set off for the wilderness of Maon in pursuit. Saul was on one side of the mountain, David and his men on the other. David was in full retreat, running, with Saul and his men closing in, about to get him. Just then, a messenger came to Saul and said, "Hurry, come back, the Philistines have just attacked the country." So Saul called off his pursuit of David and went back to deal with the Philistines. That's how that place got the name Narrow Escape. David left there and camped out in the caves and canyons of En-Gedi. Chapter 24. I'm no rebel. When Saul came back after dealing with the Philistines, he was told, "David is now in the wilderness of En-Gedi." Saul took 3 companies, the best he could find in all Israel, and set out in search of David and his men in the region of Wild Goat Rocks. He came to some sheep pens along the road. There was a cave there, and Saul went in to relieve himself. David and his men were huddled far back in the same cave. David's men whispered to him, "Can you believe it? This is the day God was talking about when he said, 'I'll put your enemy in your hands. You can do whatever you want with him.'" Quiet as a cat, David crept up and cut off a piece of Saul's royal robe. Immediately, he felt guilty. He said to his men, "God forbid that I should have done this to my master, God's anointed, that I should so much as raise a finger against him. He's God's anointed." David held his men in check with these words and wouldn't let them pounce on Saul. Saul got up, left the cave, and went on down the road. Then David stood at the mouth of the cave and called to Saul, "My master, my king." Saul looked back. David fell to his knees and bowed in reverence. He called out, "Why do you listen to those who say David is out to get you? This very day with your very own eyes you have seen that just now in the cave God put you in my hands. My men wanted me to kill you, but I wouldn't do it. I told them that I won't lift a finger against my master. He's God's anointed. Oh, my father, look at this. Look at this piece that I cut from your robe. I could have cut you, killed you, but I didn't. Look at the evidence. I'm not against you. I'm no rebel. I haven't sinned against you, and yet you're hunting me down to kill me. Let's decide which of us is in the right. God may avenge me, but it is in his hands, not mine. An old proverb says, evil deeds come from evil people. So be assured that my hand won't touch you. What does the king of Israel think he's doing? Who do you think you're chasing? A dead dog? A flea? God is our judge. He'll decide who is right. Oh, that he would look down right now, decide right now, and set me free of you." When David had finished saying all this, Saul said, "Can this be the voice of my son David?" And he wept in loud sobs. "You're the one in the right, not me," he continued. "You've heaped good on me. I've dumped evil on you. And now you've done it again, treated me generously. God put me in your hands and you didn't kill me. Why? When a man meets his enemy, does he send him down the road with a blessing? May God give you a bonus of blessings for what you've done for me today. I know now beyond doubt that you will rule as king. The kingdom of Israel is already in your grasp. Now promise me under God that you will not kill off my family or wipe my name off the books." David promised Saul. Then Saul went home, and David and his men went up to their wilderness refuge.